Hey everybody, this is a GorillaPod, and I don't like these things. They may not be inexpensive for what they are, but they feel cheap. They're bendy and flexy. The top flops around. They don't have a proper mount. They have this weird little wedge thing that's their own. It just feels cheap, and I don't like using them. So when I'm doing video or anything else where I want to have a camera mounted on like a tabletop tripod, this is what I have to use. And recently I came upon the realization that I had a perfect tabletop tripod already in my possession. And it's in the form of a copy stand. All I needed to do was design some parts. We'll design one part actually, and I'll show you what this copy stand looks like. This is the copy stand that I use when I'm photographing film. This is my X Pro 2, and I have a light source underneath, and I use this macro lens, and I photograph the film, and it works beautiful. This is actually a very simple device. They have designed it with a good solid base, but the rest you could actually build from off-the-shelf parts. You could even make the base that way. This is 30-30 aluminum channel, the kind that has these, if you flip the end cap off, and that's what it looks like. It's got these little slots in the side. People make 3D printers out of this stuff. It's very common. Makers use it all over the place. So all I needed to do was come up with a way to turn this into a tabletop tripod using this 30-30 channel. And let me show you what I did. So this is my original part that I made several months ago to replace the one that came with the copy stand. You could see that I used a Arca Swiss adapter that cost me about $11, $12 on Amazon, so that I could attach it to the bottom of my cameras that I have base plates on. And I set it up with this little crank right here that goes into the little thing, this little nut that goes inside the channel. So all I needed to do was redesign this, take my original design and put the Arca Swiss thing on top. And here we go. This is the new part. You can see we have, again, this is an off-the-shelf Arca Swiss adapter. Costs, again, somewhere around $11 or $12. And then there's a hole in the end, and there's a little nut that goes in the channel. This square section goes on the post, and your camera fits here. Let me put it in place. And there we have it. And so now we can, there we go. Now I have a beautiful tabletop tripod. And I can adjust the height, get it perfect. I don't need to worry about leveling. This thing is going to always be level. Pretty neat. Well, you may say, I don't have a 3D printer. That's not a big deal. There are people who have already printed parts like this that I made. The original one, this one here. There's a guy who left a message. He actually used an online service. There's plenty of online services to print the part. All I would say is if you use an online service, make sure you tell them what kind of material you want it printed in. I would recommend using PETG. That's what I use for this one. And this one here is PLA, the standard stuff you use for 3D printing. And I'm actually right now in the process of printing one in PETG. This is actually a prototype. But you really want to use something like PETG because you want to have the strength. This thing's going to be sitting here holding the camera for a long period of time. And in fact, when I am not using my copy stand, this one is there with the camera hanging off of it all the time. So you don't want something that's going to suffer from creep or develop stress cracks or anything like that. And that's why I say use PETG. And this part should be very cheap to have printed. Maybe 20 bucks or something like that. And it'll serve you well. I've also included the FreeCAD files. And if you feel like being adventurous, you can open it up in FreeCAD. And I always include a spreadsheet with my files. You can always make changes in the spreadsheet in the FreeCAD file and then export the part again. For example, maybe you want the length of this thing to be longer. There's actually an entry in a spreadsheet which is a center to center distance, and you can put any number you want. You can make it this long or you can make it short. Maybe you want the part to be taller. There's an entry in a spreadsheet for that. So by opening it up in FreeCAD and fiddling around with the numbers in the spreadsheet, you can adjust it for many things. In fact, maybe you don't have a post of 30/30 channel. Maybe you've got something that's another dimension. Those dimensions are also adjustable in the spreadsheet. And then you simply export the part as an STL file, and you can print that. But if all you want to do is order a print of this thing, download the free STL files from my Printables website and send them to where you want to have them printed. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And there it is in all of its glory. Now, if I go to the model and I click on spreadsheet, you'll see I've included a lot of variables, and the ones I bolded at the top are the most important. We see center to center. This is going to be the distance between the center of the post and the center screw under the camera. And we also have the overall bracket height and then the thickness of the end of the bracket. So this determines, if we go here, the overall bracket height is going to be this dimension on the left side. The end of the bracket is this right here, this little dimension right here. That kind of determines this angle. And the center to center is going to be from the center of the post to this little hole right here. You'll see other things in here as well, like the diameters of the various holes and different dimensions for the Arca mount in case you have a different Arca mount, the wall thickness, the T-rail width. But you shouldn't have to mess with any of that. If you want to change like the center to center distance, you can do that. Don't worry about these units. You can use metric if you want. Just go in here and let's just say we want to make this center to center distance 80 millimeters. Just delete that 4 inches and type 80 millimeters. And it's going to convert it just for display purposes, but if you click on the cell, you'll see that the content up here is actually the 80 millimeters you typed. Let's go look at the bracket. Now it's shorter. It's only 80 millimeters. Let's make that 150 millimeters. Double click, and we will change that to 150. Hit enter. And go back to the bracket. Now we've got a nice long bracket. And that's all you need to do. Let's make it 4 inches again. There we go. And we're going to save that. And once you have it the way you like, select the body, go to File, Export. And you want to export it as an STL mesh. STL mesh. That is what you're going to be using in your 3D printer, and it's also what you're going to be using if you want to upload to a service to print this. So that's really all I have. Both of these are available on my Printable site. I'll put links in the description. I did a video about this one some months ago, but just because of the flexibility of this thing, I wanted to share this again. You can download these and you can have them printed by a service or something. It's really easy. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Now go out there and shoot a roll.